to see what you own. Now, I personally have a rule. I never look at properties. Ever. I don't want to go visit them. You know why? Because I'm not going to live in them. If I was going to live in them, I would want to see what they look like. But as far as the investment piece goes, we sit on our inspection teams to do that for us. They're going to do a 21-point home inspection, tell us the quality of the home, take interior and exterior photos, secure the property, place a for sale sign, a lockbox on that property. So now we have information from a preliminary title report. We've got pictures. We know what it looks like. We know what the condition is. We know all of that, and all that information is posted on our website at myplace.us. So now we have data after the fact. Now, let me talk about determining value in our sales process. Another big point is if you are in traditional real estate, when you were doing your due diligence before you bought a property, you also did some modeling, just like I talked about. You looked at how much can I buy it for, how much work does it need, what is the max I can sell it for. That's where you get into trouble today. How much can I sell it for, and then we model that and say we do projections and say we should be able, if we buy it for this and put this much in it, we should be able to sell it for this. That's the problem. Today, that doesn't work. Everybody agree with that fact? There's no possible way you can figure out how to determine value. You can use the last purchase price, the last mortgage amounts. You can get an appraiser to give you an appraisal today. You can get housing. Appraisers are going to look at housing and economic bubbles. If you live in California, Arizona, Nevada, or Florida, they've got housing bubbles. They overbuild. If you go to Chicago or Illinois or Indiana or Ohio or Michigan or New York, upstate New York, some of those kind of places, you're going to find out that there's economic conditions that reign supreme. So appraisers are going to look at all of that. They're going to look at comparables and comps. They're going to go to the multiple listing service and they're going to try to pull out comps and talk about all this. That is a bunch, for me, for now, doesn't work. Doesn't work, hasn't worked. I believe, honestly, a lot of what's caused this entire problem. Would you agree? Guessing. Do you think that's caused some problems? Guessing. I think it'll work. Everybody thought it would work. Then, now it doesn't work anymore. So we don't guess at value. It's a very dangerous game. I don't think it works. I don't think it has worked for quite a long time. And we refuse to use it going forward. Guesses. We won't guess. But we have a very simple way of determining value, because I have to tell you, there's a very, very, very simple way of determining value. Always has worked, always will work. Worked yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Let me ask you this question. What is something really worth?
What someone's willing to pay.
What someone is willing to pay. It's exactly right. It's a definition of value for us at Pinnacle. We don't guess. We would much rather have people tell us what they will pay, and now we can see what we'll make. Do you agree? We know, beyond a shadow of any doubt. The key to this is you can't sell stuff to people at what they're willing to pay if you didn't buy it right. You see that? So the first rule is buy it right, which we do. Second rule is because we bought it right, and only because we bought it right. That's why we're the folks out there doing this and are able to do this. You can't compete against us in a real estate market. Put your house on the market. I'll put mine on the market right beside you. We'll see who wins. You're not going to win. If I bought it for 10 grand and you bought yours in 1974 for $65,000 and you've got a mortgage against it over the years for another, you've refinanced 3 times, now you owe $172. Who's going to win? We're going to win. You're going to have to short sell yours. We're going to sell it for cash and make 50% return and still sell it for 15 grand. You see? You can't win. So we like using the definition that works 100% of the time. Find out what people will pay you for what you have to offer. Okay? Now, here's how we determine what a person can pay. You follow me? We're not going to figure value. We're going to figure out what people can pay us. How do we determine what they can pay us? Again, very, very different from traditional real estate. When a person pulls into the driveway of one of our houses, remember I told you I put a for sale sign on every property. They pull into the driveway, they're riding by, they see the sign, oh look, this house is here, it's for sale. I like this house, my mom lives across the street, or whatever it is. They pull into the driveway, they get out, they look at the house, they walk around, they look at the windows, they sit back in their car, they dial their cell phone, they call the local number, which is on the sign. The local number rings to North Carolina, where those good southern folks answer the phone and say, what do they say? What's the first question that those folks ask that are sitting in the driveway looking at the house?
How much is that?
How much is it? They want to know how much it costs, right? Right? Now, I just told you we have no idea. Right? Remember, we don't use traditional real estate. We don't waste any time, any money, spend any effort, make any guesses as to the value of the property. I would much rather wait for a person to call me and say, I will give you this much, and then determine if that works or not. Right? Right? So here is how we determine value, by finding out how much they can pay. And here is how we figure out how much they can pay us. The folks call in and say, how much is it? We say, well, let's ask you a few questions. Number one, do you currently rent or do you currently own? Most people say rent. We say, how much do you currently pay in your monthly rent? Most people say $915. More guesses? How much? 800, 1200, good, okay. So we've got some ideas of what they're currently paying to rent a property. They called us, don't forget. So we say, if we could sell you this house for the same amount you're paying for rent, would you be interested in purchasing it? They usually say, yeah. Don't forget they called us. And then we say this simple question, well, how much can you afford to put down on this property today if we could work that out so you could buy it? They might say something like $2,000 or $1,000 or $1,500 or whatever it is. We would say, okay, for $1,000 down and, I don't know, $500 a month, 500, not 800, 1200, 900, 1500, but say $500 a month. Can you buy, would you be interested in buying this property? You think they say, yes. It's the easiest thing in the world to do, okay? That's the easy part of what we do, is selling people properties. If you can sell it to them for a low monthly payment and a low down payment and make it easy for them to buy from you, most people will, since the fact is they called you, right? Okay, so here's an example of how we determine that value again. We're going to, say we agree on a price. I love your examples, and I do that in every city. If we're in California, it's a couple $1,000s a month. And most of the country, I have to tell you, it's between $800 and $1,200 a month in rent. That's what most people are paying. California's different. New York was different a few weeks ago. But let's say we agree to sell this person based on the condition of the property. They did a walkthrough, and they say, you know what, I'll give you $400 a month for the property. Do you think that's just a ridiculous number? Or do you think that can work? $400 a month? All right, so we say you can pay us $400 a month. I'm going to show you what we don't show them. I'm going to show you how we determine the option price, because we sell most of our folks on a rent to own. So it's a low down payment, it's a low monthly payment until they can buy the property by paying a mortgage. You guys see that? That's how we sell 90% of our homes. So we've talked to them about how much they can afford per month. We determined that's $400. Well, by us taking $400 and 7% for 30 years, we know that the option price is $59,500, which means we can sell that house to them for $59,500, and they can probably go get a mortgage for less than we're charging them at some time in the near future, when they can obtain a mortgage and cash us out at $59,500. You see that? So we don't bring all this up. We simply say, how much can you afford to pay each month? If we give them that $400, that's the price, $59,500. Excuse me. Now here is the chart to show you how we determine that option price. So they're all fixed prices. So I want to share that with you. And this is it's in more detail in our sales department. This is in $50 increments. We do $25 increments, and they go higher than $500. But this is a good range for you to see. $250 a month in monthly rent. Does anybody know anybody that pays $250 a month in rent? Or a house payment? Anybody got a $250 a month mortgage? No hands? Really? Shocking. $250 a month in monthly payments. And then we go all the way up to $500, just to give you an idea of what we can do. Now, each monthly payment, this is what we're negotiating with the folks, right? And this correlates to an option price when I just showed you how we calculate that. So if a person agreed under that scenario to pay us $400 a month, well, that's an option price of $59,500 in the first 12 months. We give them a little bit of discount, $58,900 in the second 12 months. Do you see that? In 36 months, the third 12 months, it's $58,200. We give them a little bit of credit for the rents that they pay, and they have a 5-year option in which to buy the property. Does everybody see that? So they get the property, they rent it until they buy it, and they have up to 5 years to do that. All right? And this is the prices of the option prices as they go out, and they go out for 5 years. And this is the different amounts. If it's a $500 a month rent, it's a $74,400 option price. If it's $250 a month, it's